You obviously have with a team like that, who are all having commitments to their actual teams. They don't get to practice coming into this as much as they wanted to, whereas Singapore did put in a lot of time into their scrims and in preparing for this very tournament.
Well, I think all North American teams really take this seriously. Both USA lineup and Canada lineup. These guys practiced a lot.
Yeah, but only against each other.
Only against each other,
yeah.
Sure. But USA is good practice, right?
That's
yeah,
true.
right. Which
Speaking of a team that's very practiced, though, I mean, Singapore, James, put in a lot of work coming into this event, and they're constantly learning and constantly implementing.
Yeah, definitely. After the team was announced, you know, they were making sure that every single day they were practicing together. Once a week, they would get together at a LAN center to get that LAN practice. You know, it is a little bit different here being inside the studio. There is a crowd, and you got the thunder sticks booming, and it's much more difficult, but right now, I think they are making their adjustments. It's just difficult when you come into a 3-day event. You only have those 3 days to make the adjustments, but I'm glad they did it mid-match, and so we'll see if they have a game plan up against Canada.
Yeah, and they could look to exploit any weaknesses that Canada may have, and if they were watching yesterday, there were some moments there. But one thing I did talk about Surefour with Reinforce was that Surefour said that, you know, yesterday they were just trying things. They're not really showing their hand here, so to speak.
Yeah, well, it's hard to judge what is trying things and what is sticking for today's games.
Yeah.
I mean, Surefour was playing the McCree. He might bring it out today. He might stick to the Soldier. I would like to see the Soldier. Let's find out.
All right, indeed. Let's find out. It's time to send it over to your commentators for this matchup. It's going to be Monte Cristo and Doa.
That's right. Hey, guys, Doa and Monte Cristo here for Singapore versus Canada, and should be an interesting one. I mean, going into today, or yesterday rather, we heard a lot of teams say that Singapore was a team to kind of watch out for in this tournament. I guess their scrim results were looking pretty good, and a lot of the teams here seem kind of impressed by them, but we haven't really seen that come to light thus far.
No, and we did see Russia play a lot of standard dive compositions in this meta against them and do very, very well. So Canada, although they did win 4-0 yesterday, they weren't the tightest of teams. We saw a lot of mistakes in terms of managing their ult economy, and they were allowing multiple overtime pushes that they had the opportunity to shut down. So certainly on an individual level, this Canadian team has been good, but the synergy just hasn't been there. So there are opportunities for Singapore, maybe to take a map or two.
Yeah, the other kind of concern that stood out to me yesterday, and it was mentioned on the desk too, was Rolf Sombra didn't look quite as good as some of his other heroes, and you know, he's a great Ana and he's a great Zenyatta, but the Sombra so far seems to, at least in this event anyway, have eluded him.
Yeah, I think that comes down to their teamwork too, because we saw a lot of those EMPs coming through, and like the Zenyatta would kill him somehow, so I'm not exactly sure that's something that you never expect to see in those circumstances.
I mean, as the world's best Zen, I see this all the time in my own games, of course, but I'm just not used to seeing it
level.
in the pro scene. That's right, yeah. You know, it threw me a bit. Threw me off a bit.
Well, Canada going to be selecting Hollywood here to start things off on. Yeah. Looking pretty standard, of course, with the Ana here instead of the Zenyatta, trying to control the high ground of the cafe. We saw this from them when they played yesterday.
Yep.
So not too surprising, and Singapore will probably be moving over to, well, looks like that's probably going to be their lineup actually, and we may see the Pharah Mercy here.
Huh, yeah, Neon Tears on the McCree here.
Well, they are adapting to what they saw from Canada yesterday, maybe assuming that there wasn't going to be a Soldier 76 run by Surefour or Agilities.
Sure.
So definitely opportunities here to get the long-range pickoff, and Neon Tears will switch over to the Tracer, but that's the only other adjustment that they are going to be making.
All right, well, here we go. Singapore on the attack as they come out. The crowd getting into it, as I always like to hear. Neon Tears sneaking around the back. I love that ID, by the way.
That's a very cool ID.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like a great 80s band, too. Here comes Jungin-ji. And they're on the point right now. Canada hold up in the cafe. They're going to try to come out now, but it's all about holding that door and then creating some space.
Yeah, they're not going
to high ground as well.
Yeah, Singapore's not going to dive them here, right? This is all about poking and making sure those choke points are filled with rockets. So very deliberate, Joe Meister, the first to fall here. Jungin-ji on the top, and this has been a good push so far.
Yeah, those Mercy damage boosted rockets are really tough to deal with if you're Canada. Canada, though, striking back, grabbing some kills here as they come out of the cafe. and Jung-In-Ji suddenly finds himself a bit on his own, gets taken out. XQC grabbing a couple of those kills, and looks like despite the rough start losing Joe Meister, Canada's going to hold pretty easily. They do give up one tick, though.
I mean, Singapore didn't have to go that deep, right? Because they had already eliminated the Lucio on the side of Canada, which meant that they were relying on Rolf for the heals. You see how much healing Rolf got done, already has the nano boost.
Yeah.
But there's no reason they had to segment like that and go around the backside of the point. They could have just continued to poke at the point and force Canada to engage onto them. Neon Tears now sneaking around the back.
He doesn't have ult yet, but he's just going to try to take out Rolf that way, at least be a bit disruptive anyway. Building that up anyway. Dragon Blade comes out, Agilities cuts down Cup immediately, dives deep. Singapore responding though, they kind of pulled back. Ooh, Surefour gets the kill onto Zest actually. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that Dragon Blade, but Canada's kind of making it work.
Well, we haven't seen from Agilities a lot of very good Dragon Blades in Canada's games yet, and mostly it seems to be an issue of him not having the same amount of protection that he's used to on Immortals when he dives in with his Winston player Fate. And here, he didn't have any kind of coverage for him. No nano boost either, so.
That's what I was going to say. I'm not sure where the nano boost was on that one, if that was just kind of a miscommunication. It's kind of hard to say. Singapore comes in, sound barriers on both sides. As Canada tries to push back Singapore here, Jung-In-Ji does have that barrage to use. Looks like he's trying to get set up for it. There's a nano boost down on the bottom though.
Yeah, on to Surefour, who switched over to the Soldier 76 and gonna try and fall onto that point, keep the percent coming, but they're not going to get it. It is going to go back down to that first tick now. So Canada doing a good job of holding, and Agility's working his way back up to another Dragon Blade, but no ults. And Singapore's going to come back with a res, so this should be the push for them.
Canada's looked a little bit tighter with their defense since that first one where they lost Joe Meister, but like you mentioned, Monty, this is Singapore's moment. This is where they really need to get it done, and Agility's nearly up to that Dragon Blade again.
But he hasn't had that coverage, hasn't had that protection. Mangachu needs to make sure that he's there with the defense matrix to protect this Dragon Blade. Nice sleep dart there on the Neon Tears. And
he couldn't finish him out. That's a bit of a problem. Does zone Neon Tears anyway, but didn't get the kill here. Barrage goes down. Ajin goes ahead and uses the res to bring someone up. Tempo, agility, there's the Dragon Blade now. He's got the Transcendence to contend with though. Not quite actually.
Singapore keeps going in on a lot of these plays. Self-destruct going to clear out the point for now. Junglinji still alive, but so many of the Team Canada players zoning them back off.
Yeah.
And it looks like it is not going to be a successful attack here. Singapore needs to back off and reset. Nano boost now available, but Singapore had some opportunities. They need to play around the Pharah a little bit better here, not overcommit where the Pharah can't provide additional damage.
There's no Zenyatta in the game. I have no idea where I even got that Transcendence from. It's on the brain.
We've seen it a lot this weekend.
Here we go, Singapore. Last-ditch effort defense coming in. XQC's got that Primal Rage, which is going to come in very handy. Popping it now. They've got the sound barrier again. Both sides popping that one. And Singapore just trying to push it back. But Surefour draws first blood with that tag visor and second blood. Canada on a great start to full hold here. There's the self-destruct coming in, just zoning Singapore back a little bit more here. Rage of Tofu knocked out of the mech, and it looks like that will be that. Canada with the full hold here on Hollywood and really only needing to get a little bit more than that first tick to take the map.
Yeah, that's going to be it. 47% is the number that they have to get to. And seeing Canada close that out pretty easy with the nano boost, attack visor, and the lack of defensive ultimates on the side of Singapore. But man, Singapore had two really good opportunities if they played a little bit further back, a little bit more patiently to force Canada to re-engage them on the point. They tried to push a 6v5 advantage a little bit too far, and that's where you can't get the help from the Pharah and Mercy, so you end up over-committing in some of these small little rooms where you're not going to get that same line of sight from the heroes that are supposed to be further back.
Yep. So Canada with a pretty easy task ahead of them to take Hollywood. We'll see what Singapore can do on the defense. They're going to have to dig deep if they want to stop Canada from getting just slightly over a tick. I believe, 47% was all that Singapore was able to achieve with their attack run.
We may be seeing an Orisa Torbjorn defense here coming through for Singapore.
Maybe.
That can be a very good defense if you can successfully fend off the first attack and get your ult charge up.
If you're going that far, man, just pull out the Symmetra. I think this is one of the few points where Symmetra is still like legit good.
Well, we've seen a lot in the past of the Torbjorn and Symmetra defenses, but this time it will be Orisa.
Okay.
And an attempt right here. It is a very snowbally defense. If it gets broken, if the Torbjorn dies without getting the Molten Core, can be a bit of a disaster. But if you get entrenched and if you can get the Orisa ultimate up as well and stagger that with the Molten Core on successive defensive rounds, you can be very powerful.
Yeah, we've seen the Orisa Torbjorn used from time to time in various pro matches. Even saw it pop up in Korea once in a while, and that right click for Orisa is so nice because you can pull people in front of the Torbjorn turret too. And you always get that shield back really fast. It can work.
Typically, we don't see it on top of the cafe, though. That's usually it's in one of the corners or playing far back on the point. So Mangachu is going to make a change, though, over to the Hanzo. So they are going to be lacking Team Canada a diva in this composition. He's going to see that and switch over.
Yeah, I think you probably want to go with the safer pick here. I mean, you could have tried maybe for a scatter arrow around the side of the shield. Sometimes you get lucky in that situation, but he's just going to swap right back.
Well, he's actually going to move over to the Pharah. So realizing that he's going to be able to spam down these barriers from a long way away, and Rolf will also move now to the Mercy to provide that damage boost. So this is interesting. Surefour will be playing the Zarya as well, so a lot of free charge able to be gained, and you see them just trying to poke down this turret. They need to move that turret.
Oh, Surefour got it though. Turret's down. Singapore. Now they need to move it because it doesn't exist anymore, and that's going to be the ticket for Mangachu to go in with the Pharah. Canada already on the point right now. Jungin striking back, but Canada looks like they may just be ready to take this one right here, right now. The fight's going pretty well so far, and yeah, Agility's getting a ton of picks in the back line. And
the Molten Core is there, but it's just not enough, Doa.
Time to emote.
That's going to be it, but credit to Canada. Those were some very good switches. You could see the communication crystal clear, because they made the transition easily on the fly and had the game plan to go with it. So, especially because of the turret placement from Singapore on the high ground, it did leave them vulnerable to the Pharah because the Pharah could shoot from over the wall outside of the point, so it made it very easy and safe.
You can outrange that turret that way.
Yeah.
And it was surprising to see, because not only do you leave yourself vulnerable to Pharah, but even just the standard dive now is actually pretty good at handling that type of thing when you put it on top of that cafe.
Yeah, I just didn't like the placement. It is possible to play that kind of defense on Hollywood, and we have seen teams do it, but I think when you have the turret out in the open like that, you're not doing yourself that many favors. Sometimes we see it in the back corner of the point.
I like to put it in the little corridor next to security. So sort of when you come in, it ends up being behind you. And when you put the Orisa shield in front of it that time, it's really hard to get back to it.
Yeah, over there, and like we've seen placements of it right next to the doors where the limousine leaves the point too.
From when you attack in to the right side in that hallway that leads past the doors. Yeah, that's a good place to put it too. But either way, Canada ahead. Attack Symmetra, please. I don't know about that.
Wait.
I don't know. Symmetra on defense, but attack Symmetra, I question that sign. I'm sorry. I don't know if I can endorse that.
Who knows? We did see a lot of nano-boosted Symmetra at last year's Overwatch World Cup. So
we're not watching Korea right now, Monte Cristo, so we're probably going to have to wait.
Well, who knows what we'll see tomorrow, right?
Yep. That's right. Well, Surefour played a little bit of the McCree this week already. Getting a lot of picks here. And Canada, if they can 4-0 this match here, certainly putting them in a great position to grab one of those, grab that top spot. And we talked about how important that top spot in Group F is, because if you're in second place, 99% sure you're going to be facing South Korea in the playoffs tomorrow, and you don't want to do that.
Right. And that's the danger here, too. And Singapore can certainly still play the spoiler in this scenario.
Sure.
Because any maps at all may be the difference between the Canada and Russia if they go through as we expect from seeing one day of this competition. But Singapore looking, I like some of their strategies today so far. I think they were very, very close to winning a couple of those team fights on that Hollywood point A. But Canada, their attack went much better than their defense, and I like the quick switches, and thought they did an intelligent job of adjusting their strategy on the fly.
I think Mangachu has been really fun to watch this weekend too. You know, coming into it, he was telling us how nervous he was, that he was, you know, kind of afraid of being on stage and kind of, you know, being up front with the lights on him and stuff like that. But, you know, I haven't really seen the nerves in his play. He's looked pretty comfortable in the game.
Well, especially in an off role too, where he's not accustomed to playing that diva, but he is accustomed to playing that Pharah. So
sure.
When they can pull it out, they saw that opportunity, and I think that's where one of the reasons why they really shone in that last attack on Hollywood.
Well, his diva was looking pretty solid yesterday too.
Yeah,
so.
Better than expected, that's for sure. Better than expected.
Well, here we go on to our control map. Lijiang Tower is the pick from Team Singapore. We're going to start things off on the night market. And here we go, Singapore actually deciding to go with the pharmacy.
Yeah, going to be using that again. And we'll see if they can get more purchase onto the points here than they were able to get in the last map.
Great zoning by XQC there. Good support from his team too to just push Singapore around the corner there.
Yeah, Sure4 actually gets Neon Tears. A little bit of help from Rolf, targeted around the corner, and this should be the cleanup right now.
Indeed.
Singapore needs to reset, fall off the map, and there they go.
Jin just backing up.
Yeah, had to. Especially once the Tracer went down, you're not going to be coming back from that fight very easily.
Yep.
And so now, Canada pushing a little bit further forward, trying to perch on this ledge.
Ninja perch. It's a little bit of damage in there. Ninja perch kind of sounds like I'm talking about a ninja fish as well, but talking about a ninja up on something high. Cup goes down early, so Singapore already in a little bit of trouble here. And there goes Neon Tears. So despite that kill on the Sure4, Singapore may need to back off here. They're trying. They've got the point halfway flip, so a little bit of back capping action going on, but Canada back there in time to push people away again.
Yeah, Singapore really separated on that attack, and that's not going to be long for Agen as he cut down XQC. He's going to be bouncing around right now, and it's a great timing there as the Primal Rage runs out, gets the jump reset.
Yep, doing his best Miro impression there. It's fun.
So, switch now. So, Agen is going to make a transition to a Zenyatta instead, but they're going to keep Jungle G because he is close to the barrage, but they were committing too many resources, I think, around the side right there, so they got caught in some 6-on-4s.
Dude, Agility's, you know, we've questioned his Dragon Blades for good reason, but man, he is wrecking people today.
Well, his Dragon Blades haven't been good, but everything else has been, right?
For sure.
And I think that's, again, mostly just a communication issue with this particular team, and with having a less experienced Diva and Mangachu and a new teammate on XQC.
Well, you get really used to playing with Kareev and stuff like that on Immortals. Things are a bit different here. Sound barrier for Singapore as they try to survive it. Man, whoa, support strikes back. Cup coming in to save the Zenyatta at the very end here. Meanwhile, Mangachu having to deal with this Primal Raging Winston a little bit. Singapore trying to flip the point. They're on there. Canada, can they get back in time? Whoa, never mind.
Mangachu just chucked it back through the upper window.
From downtown.
Definitely from downtown. That was a Steph Curry three-point shot right there.
He's on fire for sure right now. All right, there's another self-destruct contained by the Winston shield, I believe, and Singapore nearly flips the point, but Canada has got it. And they're into OT. That is going to be it looks like. Yeah, Canada takes night market with some pretty stylish moves toward the end there.
Well, that self-destruct made sure Singapore didn't get that point, because Agilities, again, falls back and tries to go onto the supports, but with the sound barrier that had just been popped, no chance to get it. The Zenyatta, Agen just staying back on top of the Mega Health Pack made it easy for him and Cup to take down the ulting Genji. So another Dragon Blade that doesn't do a whole lot.
Hey, but when you got Mangachu just lobbing self-destructs in there, who cares, you know? Who needs it?
They have to stay on the point at that time, right? It's in overtime, so... but you got to make sure that you can step off for just a few moments, and that was another very close to one fight for Singapore.
Yeah. Well, you gotta say maybe you don't expect the exploding Diva to come through the window like that, but gotta be careful.
It was a good shot.
You can self-destruct at any time. Here we go. We're on the control center. The action has begun. Singapore fighting for their lives. They force Sure4 back. Whoa, never mind. You don't want to chase Sure4 when he's got the flash grenade out. That flashbang does work, man.
Yeah, the flashbang really, you have to keep a careful track of that cooldown. Another reset from Singapore.
Yep.
Mangachu actually
they're back to up already.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Come back and cap the points here. Get the first few percent on the board for Team Canada.
So in that first fight, they already pushed Singapore all the way back to spawn. It's a rough start for Singapore.
Agilities very close to the Dragon Blade again, now 94.
Yep.
So this will be a quick ultimate for him.
Yeah, well, look at the ult charge for Canada already. They are way ahead of Singapore.
I mean, they won that fight handily.
Yeah. Hello. Dragon Blade time. Agility's coming out, trying to survive here.
Got booped.
Yeah, it's getting roasted. Booped away, too, by Cup. Doesn't get any kills with it, but they do manage to kind of zone Singapore out anyway. Operation Kill Cup has failed.
It's a little bit strange that Agilities is going in seemingly alone most
a little bit,
times.
yeah.
And yes, they do push them back, but now the re-engage coming through, that was a very early sound barrier from Singapore.
Yeah, well, they killed Mangachu, too, so they know they've got the upper hand. Well, they did for a moment anyway. Canada keeping everybody up with the trance, yeah, and Agilities, oh, he does not live, but Canada wins the fight anyway, so everything's just fine. XQC with the celebration Primal Rage at the end there, I suppose. Zest is on the point. Neon Tears is around too, but Canada still with the numbers advantage for the moment.
Yeah, everybody going to be respawning right now. Sure4 rolling back in on this McCree.
It's a Deadeye.
Yes, there is going to be a defense matrix in his face, though. Not going to get anything done at all. He's getting chased right now, but he actually interrupts the dash with the flashbang.
Yep. And look at that, the not going for the health pack right away, knowing he had the healing there, leaving it in case they need it for some other time. There's another kill for the self-destructive Mangachu, taking down Zest. And Junji can't survive too much longer than that. So we're up to nearly 90% for Canada already. This has been about as one-sided as it gets, unfortunately, for Singapore.
Yeah, but you realize when you take a look at Singapore that they have the right idea. It's just the execution is a bit off.
Sure. Well, it's Dragon Blade time. Well, Cup does go down. Gets one, Sleep Dart doesn't connect, and he's going to get both supports with that ultimate. Meanwhile, on the point, Canada already doing pretty well in this fight. They do lose Rolf early on, but again, they've got that numbers advantage, which in the end really makes a pretty big difference.
Yeah, it's just a matter of getting Rage of Tofu down right now, getting that Diva out, and overtime ticking out. Cup makes it back, but
Cup.
Sure4 dealing the damage.
OT ticking away, and Canada will take a pretty quick 2-0 in both the series and that map. Looking pretty grim for Singapore, isn't it?
It is, but you got to think at one point in time, one of these pushes that should be successful is going to work, because it's mostly been about timing errors for Singapore so far, because the concept is right. Like, they know when to go in, and they know how to go in, but like sometimes the sound barrier was really too early as they approach the point, and they need to make sure they keep better track of the ultimates available to Canada, so they're not instantly countered out by a Transcendence. It's been a bit rough, but I think they've been just really close a couple of times.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it too, Singapore, I don't know, it's just tough because they're doing things like handling Agility's Dragon Blade well. You know, they're falling back. We saw both supports combine, you know, kind of like a support Voltron to take down this ulting Genji, but, you know, beyond that, it's tough. So the core components are there, but the execution just isn't there. Let's throw it to the desk, or actually, let's take a quick break. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, 2 more maps, Singapore versus Canada. Don't go anywhere, guys.
We are hope.
We are honor.
We are courage.
We are justice.
We are compassion.
We are determination.
We are harmony. We are Overwatch.
The Overwatch World Cup 2017 is brought to you by Omen by HP, T-Mobile, and Blizzard Entertainment.
Welcome back to the halftime show here. And guys, I mean, I have to say, pretty solid performance here from Canada. I got a big head, just so you guys are aware. But, I mean, we'll just end it there because I have jokes. But anyway, Canada, not bad.
Not bad at all. And
We
I mean,
win.
I've been hammering onto agilities and his Dragon Blades before the match began, and I'm not really taking it back because his Dragon Blades didn't really do too much. However, it didn't really matter that much because everything else he did was spot on. He really got a lot of pickups with the team. Also, XQC got a lot of great engagements on his Winston, and the supports really played well to like make it happen for him to actually create the space. So I'm overall just very happy with the performance from Canada.
Well, really, I just think the accuracy from agilities onto Farah Mercy was just super impressive. I mean, Farah Mercy flying around in the air, and he's just hitting shurikens all over the place. So that was really impressive.
Yeah, and Canada, able on Hollywood to get that full hold there. So interesting stuff there, and also Mangachu, opting to, just do him. Right, not really. I mean, he had a pretty strong showing there. I think he had played. You had mentioned the Farah. So that's good for Mangachu to be able to just show that flexibility. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, generally, like the team flexed really quickly there on their attack. They saw, okay, they have a reset, they have a Torbjorn, so they instantly switched Mangachu onto the Farah. Rolf went onto the Mercy. They took the turret out right away and were able to just go in there and get that first tick. Didn't take that much.
And James, when you're in that position, when you have to hold, it makes sense to go with very defensive type heroes there, especially Torbjorn and Orisa. I know Kiki's somewhere very happy that Orisa was used. So I want to get your thoughts on that, because it does seem like, again, this team, they strategize very well. They think about what they want to do, and at the very least, you have to give them credit for that.
Just one of the issues is that they were, between a rock and a hard place at that point. They had only established 47% around there, so they can't play far away. And once Canada was able to get on the point, they secured that tick, and that just, made it that much harder for them. It was just a really great swap-off, great decision-making coming out from Canada. And they saw the threat, they swapped off, and then from there, Torbrissa just doesn't work out for you.
Torbrissa.
He's pointing
it just doesn't work out for you.
Good phrasing there.
Yeah, but Singapore has really been this sort of cheesy team throughout the tournament, bringing their own strategies and stuff. But if you played ranked the last month or so, I mean, you've played versus Torbrissa yourself, so kind of expected to see a pretty quick switch from the Hanzo on Mangachu over to the Farah, and they dealt with it pretty easily.
Yeah, it's always good to see some flexibility out of him. Now let's talk about Lijiang Tower. We started off in the night market here. There was a play in particular, Zoe, that you wanted to highlight. I
don't know if I should praise it now or like hammer on it. It was just like overall so funny to me when Mangachu got that self-destruct. I don't think the casters actually caught on to it. So he wanted to get the self-destruct through the window. However, he didn't quite manage, so the mech was just kind of like bumping off the window and fell down. However, Team Singapore thought it's going to come through the window, so they stepped outside, and that's why they even got caught in like in the first place.
Debated.
Yeah, debated.
They got
It was calculated. That was really amusing to me.
And it was like pretty funny to see the player cameras as well after the game, because Mangachu, he just realized that like, I got killed as well. So he was sitting with his hands and like trying to explain to the team, kind of like, I threw the Diva ultimate and I got 2 kills, but I missed the window. So,
and and if you talk to Doa and Monty, they're not fans of Diva's mech itself, so they probably were so totally unaware, because they do believe that Diva's mech, realistically in the context of the lore of Overwatch, doesn't make a lot of sense. Like the strongest weapon that the Diva mech has is to blow itself up. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
I think this is taken from the Animal Kingdom, where bees, for example, they can only sting once and then they die, so they need to choose their victim appropriately.
I didn't know that.
And there is a bee skin as well.
Oh,
so I'm
OMG.
You are all welcome. Okay, I'm not sure if that's actually a bee or a wasp which dies. I think it's the bee which dies, right? It's the bee.
Well,
Let's go with bee.
One of the strongest systems is the Zero system on the Diva mech, right? Sorry, that was a call out for Rachel. I got your Gundam Wing reference for you there. I mean, come on, how do you have like 10,000 APM with her defense base? gracious, because it's her individually shooting every projectile.
Yeah.
That's how it works somehow.
Yeah, and it makes sense
Can you
because she.
stop questioning her mech, please?
I
What's
tell you,
going on?
even with that
Do I have to
amazing,
make more things up now for you?
even with that amazing
Protect
revelation,
her?
Monty and Doa still are not fans of.
I'll
the
come up
Diva
with
mech.
more stuff. Give me an hour.
Give you an
I'm
hour.
on to this.
Hit up your homie Jeff. Be like, hey yo, Jeff.
No, I'm not. I can make this up myself.
Pick it up
I don't
as
need
we
any
go.
help with that.
Well, I'm interested to hear the thoughts of Monte Cristo and Doa as we get ready for our next matchup here. Let's see if Singapore can get a win, or will Canada continue with their reign of dominance. Send it over to you boys.
Hello, Doa and Monte Cristo back once again for another couple maps between Canada and Singapore. And you know, I just want to address the Divas mech thing. You know, I think it's cool. I think her mech is cool. I think it's costing the South Korean government quite a bit of money when she blows it up constantly. But hey, you know, if they can afford that, if that's the way they've decided to fight in Overwatch, to fight big like mechs, is to just keep blowing theirs up over and over again and sending down new ones from space. You know, the world just must be covered by orbiting diva mechs. You realize that, right? Because it, like, theoretically, it gets called down from orbit. So in order to have that many of them ready to go, there's got to be just like a huge halo of South Korean mechs just floating above the rest of the world.
I mean,
blotting
clearly
out the sun.
And also, as we see Team Canada play on the moon, I guess they figured that that's a more efficient way than bombers or drones or something like that. Which you think if you want to make explosions, you just go that direction, right?
Nah. Look, we can see Diva's mechs from here. There they are. Wow. I actually don't see any. I'm so confused now.
Well, they got to get back in. Looks like
they do. Mangachu, hurry up. All right, there we go. Canada on the defense. Singapore coming out with Widowmaker Reaper actually on the offense. Neon Tears bringing out the Sombra. So, you know, one thing like the desk mentioned, Singapore certainly has their interesting comps.
Jung-in-Ji waiting right here, waiting for agilities, trying to punish him for diving onto Jen, and now going to head straight back over onto the point. A clever strategy from Singapore.
Yeah, here we go. Jung-in-Ji coming in right now. A little bit late to the party, though. His rest of his team could need him. Mangachu already with a kill on the Rage of Tofu. But Singapore striking back. Still, they need to back up for just a little bit here.
Yeah, but they do have access to these hacked health packs, and they do have the respawn advantage. So coming back in, this is a disciplined attack so far from Singapore.
Yeah.
Take the advantages you have. Try and get some damage onto the point right now. Maybe a Jen still trying to find those angles. Let's see if he can get any of these headshots in. Neon Tears has the EMP now.
Yeah, gotta be careful. Has that EMP. Canada, there we go, coming in. There's the EMP. Singapore diving in to try to get some kills afterwards. Jung-in-Ji gets one with the Reaper, but at least they've got Canada forced back. Meanwhile, nobody from Singapore really on the point, but they've definitively won the fight. So they should be able to get some good progress on the control meter here, if not just take it.
And that's the patience and execution that we wanted to see from Singapore earlier.
Not bad.
Actually showing up here. This time they waited for their teammates to come back through. They waited to use the EMP until they pushed them out into the side chamber with the Reaper. And that's where they target the EMP. That's where they get everybody clustered up and pick up the kills. So efficient attack from Singapore. Finally the execution going their way.
It's a pretty good start. Jung-in-Ji does go down. It's a little bit too far forward maybe, but the rest of Singapore at least moving on to hack the health packs. They've got lots of time to work with here.
I think he needs to switch. I think Jen needs to get off of the Widowmaker right now. This is where you want the Soldier. This is where you want the Pharah, which we've seen Jung-in-Ji playing so far in this map, coming back on this point.
If he wasn't so close to the Death Blossom, I think he'd probably swap, but even with that ultimate coming up, I think on this point, it's way too open. Yeah, you do switch to the Soldier here.
Unless something goes horribly wrong with Mangachu's defensive matrix, so you're not going to get it. But there's a punish onto Surefour, who was chasing a Wraith Form Reaper.
I mean, the idea is that the EMP enables the Death Blossom, but they use the EMP for Neon Tears pretty early before Jung-in-Ji has his ult ready to go, so not sure what the plan is there. They're coming in anyway. There's the Death Blossom. Takes out Mangachu after the Diva Suit's out. But beyond that, Canada in a pretty good position to strike back here, and it looks like they will be able to defend. So now we're going to see Jung-in-Ji probably change off that Reaper.
Or
not, really?
I mean, if they really want to keep using this Widowmaker and try and force the members of Canada to focus on the Reaper on the point, maybe they stay onto it. They did get a tick. They got it up to 44.4%, but
the tough part, though, is that with this Reaper, the range is going to be so far that it's going to take you a really long time to build up that ultimate. And if you do want to do like the EMP into Death Blossom combo, it's going to take a while to get there. I suppose you can just EMP into just Reaper running in and shooting people, but it's interesting. We don't see that. We don't see this a whole lot on point B.
No, we don't, and they're not also finding those angles for the Widowmaker. Widow does have to get very close, and that's the danger, is that you get cut down by a Dragon Blade while you're inside this little room, and it doesn't do a whole lot of work, but it gets one, and it is going to repel Singapore, even after that EMP, which was very late indeed from Neon Tears.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they really wanted to accomplish with that EMP. I guess they do pop the Diva Mech out. Singapore, though, Sound Barrier both used by Canada and Singapore. Canada, though, they've got the respawns, and Singapore just isn't winning the fight hard enough to get a lot of momentum going on the point.
I think you just can't pop your EMP there. Yes, it comes up very quickly, unless you're going to switch off of the Sombra, but we're not seeing that, right?
Yeah.
Once Agility's already as your Widowmaker down, you're in a dicey 6v5 scenario, and it's a little bit too easy for Canada to clean that up and to focus down the targets that are actually on the point right there. And Agility's,
all right,
he's been great with not using Dragon Blade, and that continues here.
It's just been awkward from Singapore, you know, because they've had the components of a good fight, but they're just not using them correctly, you know?
And look how disciplined Canada is this time. Yeah. Now, we criticized them yesterday for overcommitting to ults, and that time, though, they use basically just Joe Meister. Surefour swaps to Sombra right now so that they can start getting health pack control back and push out a little bit further forward, create some more space away from the point. Which I think is good, because that's where Singapore wants to fight with this composition.
Yeah.
You know, they want to fight on the point with Reapers. So the Sombra is able to push them back and not give them the optimal sort of death ball composition that they'd like to have.
Yeah, Singapore, or rather Canada, can just stay spread out too to avoid that danger from the EMP Death Blossom, which is available for Singapore now. They can even pair with the Nano Boost. So this push coming in, might get stuffed already as we got the Nano Blade coming in for Agilities. Gets a couple kills already. Self-destruct used by Singapore, but no kills out of that. Meanwhile, Canada cleans up the fight, and ults were used. Singapore dedicated everything they had to that, and they got basically nothing.
Yeah, you have to be happy if Canada's using ult right now. You hadn't seen anything from them in a long time, so baiting them out had to be the goal. Canada, to their credit, finally gets the ult combo nailed down. There's the Nano Boost, there's the Dragon Blade, and finally there's an effective Dragon Blade that the rest of Team Canada is playing around instead of leaving Agilities out to dry.
True enough. Nano Boost available for Singapore, but not
nearly got another Dragon Blade already.
Yeah, nearly has it. Self-destruct for Canada, forcing Singapore back a little bit. Agilities does go down. Neon Tears finding one there, and Mengichu having to back off a bit here. Surefour's got the EMP though, so when they come in, like right about now, he's got that ready to go. Canada, some pretty easy targets after everybody gets hacked.
Mangachu going to clean up Zest as well, so that's going to be the point swept away from Singapore. They've got 46.6% fast initial attack, but they haven't made an excessive amount of progress here, and only 1:40 left to do it.
Yep.
So the switches come through, though. You know, I'm glad to see that we have Neon Tears over on the Genji and Junggeon-ji on the Tracer now. Part of me still wishes we would see the Pharah on attack here, but
well, Cup's getting pretty close to his sound barrier, so they're going to have a little bit more to work with there. But Canada, pretty much all the ults in the world they need, and Surefour even for a little bit more safety over on that Soldier 76 now. It's going to be pretty tough to break Canada in the 1 minute that Singapore has remaining. Although now that I said that, I've jinxed them, and Singapore will crush them in the next fight. Sorry, Canada. Apologize. Singapore on the point right now. Here we go, time to break it down. Canada comes in with the sound barrier. XQC taking a nap in the back lines. He's awake now, and here comes the Nano Blade. Sound barrier nearly done for Singapore. Yep, good timing from Canada. And this is looking like the fight that they were looking for.
And
yep,
there you go. Canada finally gets it together on this map to play around Agilities and the timings that he wants to use. Looks like they took that halftime, talked about some of their shot calling, and agreed that somebody else was going to be calling for those Dragon Blades, and everybody needed to communicate when that all-in was going to come, because it has been much cleaner this time.
Yeah. So Singapore, 20 seconds left for a bit of a desperation push. They should have Dragon Blade. They might even have self-destruct, and they've got the pulse bomb. So a couple small tools to use, but again, Canada still way ahead in the ult department. And unless we see a pretty big mistake from Canada, I think they're going to defend here. We'll see. Surefour zoning a bit with that tac visor to start things off. Singapore just biding their time. That tac visor might have been a little bit early for Surefour.
Where is it?
Maybe.
Neon Tears actually dies with the Dragon Blade.
that
Mangachu
hurt.
finds him.
That is so rough for Singapore, and XQC just zoning out the rest of everybody if he's not stopping him flat with that Primal Rage, and self-destruct coming in for Rage of Tofu. No kills out of that one, though, and it's just a matter of grinding down the remaining members of Singapore, and it looks like this push is going to stop right here, right now, 59%. Dragon Blade coming out the very end for Neon Tears, but it's a tough one to end with. They took point A pretty quickly, but point B didn't go quite as well.
He never had a good opportunity to use it because he found himself zoned into one of the small rooms approaching the point by Mangachu on the Diva. So unfortunately wasn't able to pull through with the Dragon Blade on that attack that they needed. They did get the percentage up to 59. So the last push was not all in vain. They got themselves a tiny amount more breathing room if they can have a long hold here on Horizon as we switch over to Team Canada as the attacking squad. And it looks like preliminarily, we might see a Mei defense here from Singapore, which they did run yesterday.
Yeah, and we've seen it work. I believe South Korea ran that today with Flower on the Mei, if I remember right, on defense on Lunar Colony.
Yeah, they got pushed through on that particular point.
Sure. Well, he ran it. I didn't see how well he did. He just ran it, man.
Well, yeah, and it seems like they may use Mei Reaper. So this would be the ultimate in terms of short-range compositions. But considering that Canada will know about the Mei from watching them play on Lunar Colony yesterday, I think they can assume that might be the pickup. And Mangachu, he really wants to play that Pharah. And he may get his wish this time. And having a Pharah soldier versus what Singapore's composition is bringing is basically going to be long-range death onto the point. And eventually somebody's going to go down. So Canada, all they have to do is poke from range, and then when somebody gets low, Agilities just zips in and finishes them off on the Tracer.
Yeah.
This is going to be very tough if Canada maintains this particular team composition.
As long as they approach cautiously, it should be a shooting gallery.
Yeah, really should be.
Yeah. Well, here we go. Canada coming out on the offense. Rolf boosting the damage from Mangachu's rockets on that Pharah. And
Reaper is actually up top right now, standing on one of the tires.
Okay.
So just some poking from the side right now. They have to be careful. There is going to be a player behind Mangachu. But no, he's just going to poke from up top, play with the sight lines from the high ground. And this is all Canada has to do is be patient. There will be an opportunity to get a kill.
Suddenly things like Maywall aren't as good too, because you've got the Pharah on top just kind of flying over it. Oh, and Cup separated from the rest of his team, gets back just in time. It was a dangerous moment. Great angle for Mangachu, gets the kill onto Zest there, and this is what Canada's been waiting for. Again, the patience paying off.
He's already got Barrage too.
Yep.
And here it comes.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's rough, man. All right, Maywall comes in, doesn't block anything though. Sure forward with the cleanup, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty quick point A take for Canada.
Well, that was just a good read from Canada on their opponents from watching their defenses yesterday. And they had already engineered a great composition for countering it. And you could see that Agilities and Mangachu working well together. Basically, Agilities was mirroring the angles from Mangachu and making sure that he was going to be able to get the finishing blows on any of those eliminations. So Surefour going to be with Attack Visor momentarily, and Jungajin now on the Pharah.
Yeah, I got to watch out on that Pharah too. Attack Visor is not something you want to run into, so if he's well protected, Surefour already has a great answer to that Pharah on the side of Singapore, and he may not even need it. Ooh, nice shots. Good tracking from Surefour. Easy kill onto that Pharah. And now Canada, we'll see how aggressive they want to go.
On the hill station there, trying to get away
Serpentine
from the Winston. Serpentine in the same place.
That's right. All right, nano boosted Winston not doing a whole lot. Pops that Primal Rage at the end to stay alive, but Canada already with the big edge in this fight, and they're keeping everybody alive. Tempo res onto Agilities to completely disprove what I just said, but Canada's still looking good on this attack here.
Yeah,
and they are getting a lot of percent already.
Down. And it's going to be a boot back on Rage of Tofu, and just knocking him back off the point is enough for Canada.
What can you do?
Stare at the ground and run around in circles to prevent getting hit as old.
Duck and weave. He's pretty spry for an old man, isn't he? Feeling spry. All right, well, Canada with the 3-0 in this series so far, one more map. See if Canada can get that 4-0, or if Singapore will claim a map here in this series. Both of our groups kind of looking a little bit similar score-wise, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Look, I'm happy that we got to see Singapore have a well-executed attack on A because, again, the ideas have been good. The execution hasn't been there, but they brought the same style of composition to Horizon that they brought yesterday, and that proved to be their undoing as Canada sort of blind-picked a pretty hard counter composition into it. They were ready, they were researched, and they were prepared.
Yeah. I mean, that last round is just one of those things where it's like, you look at it and you're like, okay, I'm pretty sure I know how this one's going to go, just looking at the heroes.
It's just so tough, because if you lose point A that hard, and then you can't run Reaper May on the second point versus it, because it's going to be even worse for you on point 2 than it was on, or point B as it was on point A, because there's more open room, right?
Yeah.
So you definitely can't use the Reaper May again. And that means that you have to switch off, but you're already so far behind in ult economy from switching off onto those heroes that there's not a great chance for you to make the comeback, right?
Right. All right. Well, looking to see what the choice is. Looks like it's going to be Route 66 for Singapore. There's Rolf, the king in the north.
Randall Stark.
That's right, Randall Stark.
Still one of my favorite pro player names.
That's right, one of the lesser-known Starks. He's not on the show, but he's alive, so he's got that going for him.
That's probably why. That's probably why, duh.
Yeah, that definitely helps out. Yeah. Although every time he dies, it's really hard to resist saying the Lannisters send their regards. It's tough.
So you want to yell every single time?
It's tough. Yeah, I do.
Well, that'd be bad if the Lannisters got 2 Starks down. You know.
I know. Well, they got a lot more than that. Went pretty well. So here we go. I believe we're about to jump into Route 66, and we'll see if Canada can complete the 4-0. I've got a feeling it's possible.
I think it's, we might see it here, but
I want to see Rolf play Sombra again.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. But this is a map that Rolf struggled on.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's the idea. I want to see Rolf play Sombra defense on this map because I want to see him improve. But it looks like we might see him on the Mercy, though. I don't know. We'll see if there's some changes here.
I think there's going to be some jumping off the map changes, agilities with the Orisa. Maybe a hint of what's to come. Excuse me. On the Junkrat, I know, buddy. You want to do your best Flower impersonation right now, but we need every map. So, okay. So Singapore.
There we go. Well, they might stick with the Mercy though. On agilities, yeah, sure. He's going to be Pistol Mercy. Yeah.
Pistol Mercy.
Pistol Mercy. Yep.
The deadliest hero in Overwatch.
That's right. I remember early beta when everyone was super bad and you could kill people with Mercy's pistol. That was a fun time. Res also was like a 40-yard range in early beta, so you just res people from spawn.
Good times.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of things I'm glad they changed. And there we go. This is jumping off the edge together. A grim reality there.
Wow.
That's the shout out. That's the shout out to Agility's teammate there.
Joe Meister. Just waiting to speed all of his teammates back.
Okay, so we'll be Rolf on the Sombra. And Neon Tears also looking at a Sombra, but that's probably going to have to change as once you see that Sombra on defense, you're just basically never going to be able to hack either of the mega packs, and so you have to make a pretty quick transition. He's going to run over there and see if he can get it, but Mangachu is already there defending the pack.
Yeah, gets hacked, but he'll just hop away with that health pack ready. Whoa, Singapore going aggressive. And
wow.
You see, goes down early. They were not expecting Singapore to be quite that aggro.
Okay, so they are going. They are playing with Jungle Jeed on the Reaper. So we've seen Reapers try and fight over that pack in the corridor on the left-hand side and be effective against these Sombra defenses, but they just rushed in and they took Canada completely by surprise.
Yeah, it really looks like Canada wasn't ready for Singapore to just dive in like that. The payload's moving.
Junganjeet has to get back. He needs a tank in there if he's actually going to play on top of that health pack. And Rolf goes down as Neon Tears kills him after Rolf EMPs.
Wow. All right. Well, the Sombra not working out for Canada yet again. And Junganjeet just untouchably here on this Reaper. Yeah, he got rid of the mech. That's enough. Joe Moister goes down. Sure, got the stick on
Joe Moister.
Joe Moister.
he makes you very damp, doesn't he, Tom? I know how much you like good support players.
Not the Sombra, though. Not the Sombra. Only Zenyatta.
Oh, come on. You love some Lucio action.
I like a well-oiled machine, Monte Cristo. We're both fired at this point. We can, yeah. Well, Singapore keeps the payload moving.
Yeah, this has been good for Singapore so far. Another well-executed plan. They've been tracking the enemy Sombra. Sound barrier is going to come through. Neon Tear's going to have to get out, and doesn't actually have the place to translocate.
It's one way to get out, I suppose. Sound barrier for Canada. Here comes the Transcendent. Singapore is going to keep trying to push it despite the fact that they lost their Sombra. Going to go in. There's the EMP for Rolf. And immediately, Jungin-Ji gets the first kill. Why is it the EMPs for Canada always results in kills for the other team?
Yeah, it's a very odd scenario when they're using this Sombra. And they're not even having to reset, though. That's the crazy thing, is they lost that fight. They didn't use ults, and Singapore is going to come back in with a lot of ults right now. They just used their EMP.
Wow. All right, well, Canada desperately trying to keep Singapore from getting point A, but it's not going too great.
Zez didn't pop his Primal Rage.
Yeah, wow, I was kind of expecting that there. Rage of Tofu coming in, and Canada, wow, have they actually stabilized?
Oh man, that was a big mistake. If he had had that Primal Rage, he would have been able to push people off the cart and get it the just tiny amount of the way to the next point, or at least buy time for his teammates to come back in.
Yeah.
Now, it's not the end of the world, because they will have some more ultimates, although Death Blossom not that useful right now. Maybe if he can get a very good angle, Jungin-Ji can find some kills.
And we'll see. Got to get back to the payload before he can do that. And Surefour is going to make it as hard as possible. There's the Dragon Blade coming in for agility. Jungin-Ji has the sound barrier to keep him up. And that Genji's vulnerable, taken down. Meanwhile, Rolf does take out Neon Tears. So kills coming in.
Now they can use the Death Blossom.
Yep. Well, can they? I mean, they've lost a few people. I don't know if you use it now.
Well, they did deback the Diva, but it looks like Mangachu not going to be able to remech.
Well, it's just like Jurassic Park, Monte Cristo. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yep.
We don't want to repeat those mistakes from Jurassic Park.
That's right.
Hubris.
I try to hold myself back today. The world's not ready.
For Doha's dinosaur clones.
No. I would totally be a great owner of a dinosaur park, though. You know it. Spared no expense. Now Singapore with one last effort to try to push the payload here. They've got some ults to work with, but they've only got 10 seconds. They need to get in there. Primal Rage for XQC when he wants to use it. Pulse Bomb not getting a whole lot, but Singapore grinding their way forward here. No Diva, though. Jungin-Ji may have...
Surefour
there we
gets
go.
That might be the clutch Pulse Bomb that turns this around and causes Canada to hold.
Certainly might be. The payload moved back quite far, actually, during all of that. And Canada slowly finishing off the members of Singapore. Overtime ticking away, and what a tragic moment for Singapore. Man, they were so close to taking that point.
I think they were like half a meter.
They were super close, dude.
From taking that point. And again, there's little things going wrong. And Canada, in spite of looking sort of shockingly weak on Route 66 over the last 2 days, manages to pull out a hold before point A.
Yeah.
But still,
Man,
like Canada didn't give up a point, but if you're a Team Canada fan, I would still be quite worried by what I'm seeing compared to the crisp dive play that we've seen from Russia, because these EMPs and whatever's going on with their Sombra communication is looking pretty shaky.
That's right. You're just trying to put more pressure on the Canada team, huh? Telling the fans what to think. If you're a Team Canada fan, you should be ashamed of the way they're winning these games.
Well, it's just surprising because we know the caliber individually of all these players, but at least we're seeing the better ults and coordination and agility. So that's that's a positive sign.
And Rolf, pulled it together a little bit with the Sombra towards the end. A little bit.
Yeah, I was just surprised at how effective Singapore's rush into that tunnel was.
Yeah.
So definitely some aggressive planning from Singapore, and now Neon Tears coming back on the Sombra yet again, and they may be running that Reaper. Is Canada going to run Pharah? Because that would be another opportunity for them to deal some pretty serious damage.
Now Mangachu might just run that Hanzo. Who knows?
Who knows?
We've seen a lot of Hanzo on attack on this map, actually.
He did at least take a look at running the Hanzo on Hollywood when we started off this 4-game set.
True. I doubt he will, but a man can dream. The dream of Hanzo.
All right, so this held back is going to be the focus of this match right here. This is where Singapore is going to play. They want to just make sure they can dominate this with the Reaper and play a very aggressive style of defense because they know they can't give up a single point.
Here we go, Canada moving out. Singapore has to make something happen fast, and look at this. Mangachu, indeed, running the Hanzo for the moment anyway.
They don't know the Reapers are there.
He's got the scatter arrow ready to go. Doesn't find any kills with it, though. Winston Shield came down just in time, I believe. He's getting some shots in there, though. It's a dangerous hallway to be in right now.
It is a dangerous hallway, but they're going to have to bypass it somehow or they're going to get cut out. That was an effective use of the scatter arrow to take out the mech, but it's not really getting them a lot of ground. You can see the payload moving right now, but they're going to have to stop when they get over unless that happens.
That health pack is not just hacked, it's trapped by scatter arrows as well.
Rolf just kills both DPSs, no problem.
Yeah, man, why not?
Gets the Tracer as well, so
a well-oiled machine.
The picks work out, and Canada uses that poke through the tunnel to make the difference, and now they've got 3 minutes, and the payload just rolls unhindered past the point where Singapore really wanted to defend.
One last effort for Singapore with the defense. There comes the Dragon Strike, though, and that is going to be rough, man. Rage of Tofu going down already, and Mangachu storming forward with the Hanzo.
Mangachu just punched everybody to death. Melee on top of the card, and that's just going to be it.
It's Legolas, man. Legolas style. You hit him. You get him with the melee attack.
Melee arrows?
That's right. Wow. Well, Canada takes the 4-0 for the series. Singapore, unfortunately, going to be 0-8 right now, but we'll see what happens as we move forward.
Canada reacted well to that scenario.
Sure.
And once they saw the Reaper, they backed off and just started going for the picks. And particularly the most important part was when that scatter arrow desuited the D.Va. Because when that D.Va's gone, a lot of your protection and ability to brawl in that tiny corridor goes away. You don't have the defensive matrix to stop more scatter arrows from just one-shotting you in the hallway. So it was a little bit rough there, just because of the way that the kills went and the first pickoff went onto the mech.
All right. Man, I just got to say real quick, I love watching Rolf play Zenyatta.
It's pretty great, isn't it?
That's just about it. Yep, that's right. And so, I believe we've actually got XQC on the side here ready to chat with Malik about that series. And we'll check that out. At some point.
I don't see Malik, though. I think you were just lying to us. Look at him. XQC standing right there.
All right, yeah, never mind. He's not in two places at once. It's hard to hear sometimes. We'll get there eventually. Malik spoiler.
We'll get there together, though. You just spoiled the interview on the stream, but I know everybody really wanted to be surprised by that.
Send their regards.
Gotta shake some hands first and show the sportsmanship, as it were.
Well, if you're known for anything, Monte Cristo, it's kindness and sportsmanship.
Hey, my sportsmanship has never been in question.
Your sportsmanship is good. That's true. Kindness.
My kindness is definitely in question.
That is true, I suppose. Pretty solid 4-0 for Canada. And I believe now, guess what, guys? This may come as a shock, but we have an interview with Malik down on the stage.
XQC. Congratulations on that clean 4-0. That puts you at a clean 8-0 now. Now tell me, how are you feeling now that you got that perfect record?
4 more games to go. That's all we got to do. I'm super proud of us. I mean, we've been playing pretty clean and super impressed.
All right. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. That is South Korea. It's pretty important for you guys, I would imagine, to get first place so you don't end up having to face South Korea. Are you feeling pretty confident going up against Russia tomorrow? And what do you think you need to do to get over that hump?
Obviously, they have like star players, Shadowburn and Mistakes. Mistakes going to look for me, so I'll have to be careful about that. I think we'll still do well, and I think we're going to get them.
All right. So now the next match that Russia has is up against Turkey. You faced Turkey yesterday. What do you think Turkey needs to do to take a map or two off of Russia?
They need to step it up a little bit. They're very good players, but Russia is very strong, and with the new additions that they put, with the new roster, they have to pull off a big, maybe like a miracle.
All right, I'll give you a chance to just give them some feedback so you guys can get that first place spot. All right, man. Well, congratulations on the victory.
Thank you so much.
And on that note, we're going to go ahead and send it back to the desk. Take it away, boys.
Thank you so much, Malik, for that one. Always good to hear from XQC. What a character that kid is. It's been pretty fun to meet him. He apparently posted a picture on Twitter where he was smushing my head. like, yeah, you know how like you do that thing where it's like, oh, I squish your head, you know, like that. I just did it right now. I was so pleased with myself. Yeah, he did
How was
that. It was received well. You know, I'm glad. No qualms. Thanks for following up with me here, guys.
I got you.
Yeah, I
Into
know
the
you
hall?
did. Yeah, you did. He's European.
I just let it happen. Like it's
You're just get deadpan
I
face.
can't just
from her.
counter
So
you.
Canadian. I just realized it's so Canadian of them. Kids in the Hall. It's a Canadian show.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I used to love that show.
Yeah.
Yes, they have no.
I
I
don't know.
know.
So what is going on?
Let's talk movements or something. Like, they don't know that.
Wait, what? What? I don't even. Okay.
I'm very isolated.
We're
I'm a pro
moving.
gamer.
Come on, you're Scandinavian.
Can we talk about Overwatch? I know Overwatch.
Let's talk Overwatch.
some Overwatch. First, let's talk about Map 3 Horizon. This was Singapore's pick going into this here. You know, not bad. They were just Singapore just struggled to be able to find, James, you know, the windows of opportunity that they were looking for, despite some of the errors that Canada was putting forward.
Yeah, you know, you have to realize that Singapore is a mishmash of a lot of different teams, Elvalon, Avalon, and Chaos Theory coming in together. And so when they tried to like flex off onto these different things, when they try to bring out the Sombra Neon Tears, we see had to swap off. Agen would then pick up Widowmaker or some other DPS so that, you know, they had the Sombra still playing like a support style. And it's just the difficulty of trying to find an identity as a team at that point.
Yeah.
Especially when, like I had mentioned earlier, you only have these 3 days to try and find it.
I mean, they started out pretty good with the Reaper, the Sombra, and the Widow pick. They got the first point pretty quickly on the attack side of things. But then later on, when Canada plays this passive, just sitting back on the second point, you can't really reach them when you're playing that Reaper. You can't really get those clean engages. And Canada just good re-engages from them overall. So when they force Singapore onto the Genji themselves, I mean, Singapore not really known for their good dives, comparing them to the good teams here in Katowice. So they just struggled.
Yeah, it's very clear that Singapore can't quite wrap their head around the dive completely here, which is, you know, it's disappointing, but at the same time, though, I hope they have learned and they have gained from this experience, because there are a lot of fantastic teams here who excel at the dive composition, you know, with the Winston and the Genji and the Diva and so on and so forth. So now let's talk about Canada, though, Zoe, because they are still, despite whatever small errors, quote unquote, they may have, they're still playing incredibly well and lights out Overwatch.
Yeah, I mean, what really like just went to show how experienced those guys are is they're going up against Singapore being the underdog. So a lot of other teams would have maybe overstepped a little bit and not played so passively, being a bit more bold in their moves, in their positioning, in their engagements. However, Canada didn't underestimate Singapore by any chance, like not at all. They did play more back, and they didn't actually allow for mistakes to happen or for Singapore to actually being able to exploit any mistakes which they might do. I know the castles have still been like picking a little bit on the Sombra plays we've seen. Rolf still didn't look super confident on it, so that's definitely something they need to work on, or at least around it somehow.
Especially with Russia on the horizon.
Exactly, like with Russia it's going to be tough, because Russia will exploit every little weakness. That was really funny. Yeah, that was really
It's funny because I don't think the Diva knew that, I don't think that Rage knew that he was trying to do for the emote that was, or for the spray that was on the wall there.
No, but Canada still look good. I mean, they had 2 full holds now. I don't know. Well, they did look very strong. Agility really showed up today, and I really felt like as the day progressed, again, like he got better and better, and I hope that tomorrow we see him on his final form.
Yeah, I think Agility really stepped it up on that Horizon Lunar Colony when they paired it up with the Ana and the Nano Boost. Yeah. Because when you're using Dragon Blade and you're using it without the Nano Boost, it's very dependent on the Winston, how much space the Winston creates for you as the Genji. But when you're using the Nano Blade, you have a lot more room to work with yourself, and you can decide, when do I want my Nano Blade? And it was pretty obvious that Rolf sat back with the Nano, and Agility just called for the Nano Boost when he wanted to go. And it looked a lot more clean when he pulled out those Nano Boosts.
Their synergy was definitely apparent there. Another thing that I just want to point out here was Mangachu and the diversity, because, you know, diversity is not just a ship that sailed in the Revolution.
No, it's not.
Know about that. But it was very impressive. Great Hanzo play from him as well.
I hoped we never have to say this on this list. But yeah, no, he did in fact get those pickups with the Hanzo.
I mean, he's the
in general,
Hanzo
also like having
like the way he-
confirmed. It's confirmed. No,
Confirmed
but also
Hanzo.
like the way he played on Farah, and also the them seeing when you can play Farah. They just didn't randomly pick it. Like it was a purposeful Farah pick into something, and that's really what makes a big difference.
Yeah, well, Mangashu's hero pool is a bit weird, okay? Because he's really good at Farah
yeah.
and he's really good at Hanzo, but Hanzo and Farah, I mean,
Hey.
they don't really work together in a role, so it's...
Well, it worked
I don't
here.
believe it.
so.
Yeah, he was really... well, it's pretty obvious, you know. He's sent here to play Diva, and then he's like, oh, I don't feel that confident on my Diva play, I don't know, you know. So
Yeah, but
when he sees an opportunity to play that Farah or Hanzo, he's just like, yeah, let's go for it, let's go.
Put me
in, go, boys.
No, but I like that the team allow us to play like around it, you know, like they do listen to Mangachu's, like maybe communicating with them like, hey, maybe, you know, like maybe I shouldn't be playing Diva, and they do make the adjustments within the team, and I do like that.
Yeah, we saw that with Spain, right? Just play towards your strengths there. They didn't play that 2-2-2 dive back in Sydney. Instead, they went for a triple DPS, and that caught a lot of people off guard. And with Mangachu on
Yeah.
the squad, they can go for a triple DPS themselves.
Yeah, nearly beat Sweden. So I hear you. You know, the Swedish couldn't contend
Who
with
beat